let's talk to Google about this so they don't allow our young ones and even ourselves to get too lazy depending on our companions. Let's find a balance. We have the head government affairs and public policy West Africa at Google, Mr. Adewolu Adene, joins us in the studio. Mr. Adene, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Adene. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's a lot of surge. We're talking about 840 searching for AI literacy, and then about 120 when it comes to skills. So we should be happy. At least people are searching for knowledge, and hopefully they're using it positively. But I mean, before we delve into what you guys are doing, how do we balance this? Because now it does seem you ask a child anything, and the person is going to Google first.
No, you're absolutely right. As the numbers show, there's a spike in the resort to Google as a learning tool, which is traditional, which has been what people have always known us for as a point of information and news. But with this particular offer, the way we've looked at it is that historically, as technology has evolved, emerging markets such as Nigeria typically have been on the back foot. But with AI, we have an opportunity to access the same tools that a student in, say, Jakarta or London. It's the same AI tools that a student in Ibadan or Jalingo would have access to. So the thinking for us is that AI is there, the opportunity is there. What are the additional barriers that stand in the way of breaching that digital divide? And we identify cost as one of them, which is the reason why we have put out this offer, whereby we are offering Gemini for free to students of tertiary institutions, 18 and above, to aid them with learning.
18 and above, there's
Correct.
No limit. I can be a 50-year-old.
If you're a student and you're registered in a tertiary institution in Nigeria, public or private,
in
you are
Nigeria.
eligible. Correct. We're doing this globally, actually. We're doing this in about 27 countries in sub-Saharan Africa and over about 150 countries globally.
Okay, so how is the adoption so far?
The numbers are looking good. It's early days. We only just announced this, so I can't share numbers just yet. But I think that's also one of the reasons why we're here, to build awareness and drive understanding. We did this last year as well, and the numbers were quite positive. And I'm here in two fronts. One, as an employee at Google, to drive awareness and understanding of this initiative. And secondly, as a Nigerian, to support my fellow countrymen and citizens with acquiring the skill sets and the knowledge that they need to be at par and compete with their peers globally.
So adoption from students, and you say you did this last year, but there's also the need for lecturers and the teachers to also be a part of it, because, I mean, they still have to supervise the students. There has to be guidelines in place, you know, to still ensure that the students are using this ethically, you know. So how are the lecturers' response? How do you reach them?
So that's an interesting question. We've also heard from lecturers and teachers to say the same way you've put this out for students, you need to put out a similar package for lecturers and teachers as well. But I think specific to the question that you asked in terms of what that dynamic will look like, the way the AI Gemini offer for students is designed is that it doesn't particularly answer questions for you. Some of the stats that we've seen show that more than 70% of the responses that you get when you engage with the tool, they're more guidelines and discussion focused than giving you a flat out answer. So what that does in the learning, particularly at the tertiary level, which you must remember is the target group here, is that it prepares students for more meaningful interactions with their lecturers. There are additional tools in the Google Workspace environment or universe, if I can use that expression, that teachers can also use to monitor what is going on there. But primarily for us, it's about giving students the tools that they can use to have more meaningful interactions with their lecturers. Again, I need to repeat, at the tertiary level, where ideally it should be an exchange of knowledge.
But the lecturers also have to hit that level, or else students might even know more than the lecturers.
No, you're absolutely right. And you know, there's a suite of AI tools outside of this Gemini offer for students that open to everybody else, right? Students, lecturers, teachers, parents, even younger people beneath below that age bracket. The issue of trust, which you've also said is important, credibility, people being able to know that whatever is being learned there, it doesn't become something that becomes an ethical problem a couple of years down the line. But the way we've looked at this, like I said, is that it's a package that guides and aids learning. And ultimately, everybody who is involved in that learning dynamic, the students, the teachers, will benefit from the way the product is structured. I hope we get to somewhere in this conversation where I can share a bit more detail about the way learning is done.
Go ahead, please.
So if you look at the way the package is designed, there's a particular feature that is the default when you get into the student's offer, and it's called guided learning. Like I said earlier on, close to more than 70% of the responses that you will get when you interact with the tool, they're not flat out 1 + 1 is 2 answers. They walk with you through the learning and the thinking process, right? So the idea behind this is that we're not trying to teach people what to think. We're not showing people what the answers are. The tool is working with them from what is the problem, what is the challenge, and what are the steps that are required to get to an end. Many people call this, I think in education, it's called the Socratic approach to learning, whereby I'm not teaching you by rote where you repeat and you just 2 × 2 is 4, but it's actually what are the steps. And I think that the thing that that does for students is that the question you are alluding to earlier on, I'm not taking away your role as a thinker. You will still have to apply yourself, but think of this as like a learning assistant. When I was younger and I gave away my age here, you would go to school and you have learning groups. You would discuss among your peers. You still have to appear there with some level of knowledge, with some level of understanding of the issues. So that's basically what we're trying to do with the tool here. Help people to assimilate large volumes of data. How do you compress what will have ordinarily taken you days or even weeks to assimilate, compress those into chunk, bite-sized pieces that you can easily know what the key information pieces are, and then you can take that to build out your own independent stream of learning.
And all of this being accessed by students, I'm thinking of the infrastructure. You know, even when you do buy internet packages, how long does it last for? You know, the electricity, you know, the infrastructure surrounding this. This is a reality in Nigeria.
No, Ini, you're absolutely correct. I mean, I'd be disingenuous to say that that's not a challenge. But the way we look at it is this. We've played, if you look at our presence in Nigeria across the last 15 years, we've played across the full stack, right? We have commitments and investments in the area of infrastructure with the Equiano subsea cable, which is designed to drive capacity and access. We also know that there are other stakeholders in the system, right? The Ministry of Digital Economy are working on the Project Bridge, which is to enhance the intra-country fiber layout, if I can put it like that. And the telco sector, you probably heard the telcos talking all the time about how they are ramping up their capex investment to enhance, you know, the network rollouts and capacity. So all of those things are moving pieces, and they will continually be issues that we will need to face. But the way we look at it at Google is that, like they say in the streets, you can walk and chew gum. We can fix infrastructure and build that level of equipment that we need, and at the same time, prepare the students who will leverage that infrastructure with the learning and the skills that they will need when infrastructure gets to the optimal stage.
And so far, so good, I guess.
I think that the early signs are encouraging, but again, that's really why we're here, to put the word out there. It's the...
Yes, so I'm asking because you did it last year.
Correct.
Yeah, so when you look at it from that experience, the adoption and of course the sustenance of it afterwards, that's what I'm really curious about.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that would help make a strong case for this would also be, we had good numbers last year. I mean, we had good numbers last year, but to help keep this and go to the point of sustainability would be to see even better numbers this year, right? There's clearly a need and an appetite and a hunger. You mentioned earlier on the 800% plus growth in search. The interesting thing about that is that we're seeing a shift from search for curiosity to search to utility. People are not just asking, what is AI? People are saying, how do I use AI for my physics lessons or for my math lessons and all of that? So with that shift from curiosity to utility, I'm confident that the numbers that we will see this year should reflect a greater take-up and actually strengthen the case for us to continue to do this on a sustainable basis.
And I'm curious that you mentioned that when we talk about this adoption and the usage and all of that, we're looking to build a future generation that is skilled, you know, not just knowledge, not for use, but skills and knowledge to deal with the realities and the challenges of the Nigerian economy first, before going global? What areas are more active, when it comes to searches and all of that?
It's broad ranging. I think that's the interesting thing. There really is no cutoff or exclusion point. But to be specific to the offer, what we've seen and what we've probably picked up is that a lot of interest is in how do I extend this to my everyday learning, whether it's physics, whether it's law of contract, whether it's torts, whether it's applied science. There's a keen interest in saying that how can I use this Gemini tool as a learning assistant to drive the learning that is my standard course of study, even if that tool didn't exist. So what we're basically trying to do is not to say that we are changing or we are taking away your personal obligation to learn. We're trying to support you on your learning journey.
But I think you guys should still think about the lecturers.
We will.
All right. Thank you so much for this free offer to the student. But how do they get on it, though?
Easy. First level, if you would like the extended version, even right now as you speak and as you hear me, you go to gemini.google.students. However, if the URL is a bit lengthy for you to recollect, very easily, just Google Gemini Pro free offer for students. You will see the drop down, how you register, how you get on board. Seamless.
So you need to be a student. That means you must have proof that you're a student.
So that's how we actually try to take away. That's one of the learnings from the version that we ran last year. Cutoff age, like I said, is 18 and above. You need to be a student registered in a tertiary institution in Nigeria. We actually have already preloaded on our database an extensive list of tertiary institutions in Nigeria. So what the student needs to do is provide us with the official email that comes in the institution that they are attached to. And then there's a back-end verification process that takes minutes, and the results are out, you're verified, you're signed up. For students that do not have or are not able to find their list on that drop-down, we also provided an option whereby if they can provide like an ID card or any other form of authentication from the institution, we will also take that to the back-end to our partners, authenticate, and get them on board so they can start their journey.
Interesting there. And I hope the students will really make the most of it. Thank you, Head Government Affairs and Public Policy at West Africa Google, Mr. Adewolu Adene. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, Ini.